Ahora no está bien. Okay. So let's try to start on time so we don't eat up your time for the break later on. So this is, as you can see, this is the Nfvrg meeting. If you don't intended to be here, it's about time for you to leave the room. If you intended to be here, please see the blue sheets that you will receive in a certain moment. Those of you who have the blue sheets, please circulate them. I will remind this a couple of times during the session. Well, I'm Diego Lopez. I'm one of the chairs of the Nfvrg. To my right, Pedro Aranda, that is acting co-chair today. Yeah. And well, let's start as soon as we can. This is Notewell that is adapted to the IETF situation. That's just for you to know under which conditions anything that is said here or commented will be, and a list of links for more information. Second, usual request is about that we are going to present a few documents. It's about you to. It's a plea to you for being active, reviewing the document, flooding the list with comments, ideas, or suggestions for the review for the authors, in the hope that because at some point of time you will be authors as well, and you would like to have your documents thoroughly reviewed as well. A few reminders of links, etc., where the materials, all the slides that have been prepared for today are available on the material sites, including pointers to the drafts that will be discussed, the links for remote participation. I know you don't need it, but for the sake of those connecting from outside, the mailing list, if you are not subscribed yet, web and wiki. And if you're curious about the notes that Pedro to my right and Linda, where's Linda? She told me she was going to be here. Well, hopefully what Pedro is going to take and what Linda hopefully will be taking soon, if you're curious, you want to correct your names, you want to make any comments or change of what you said at the mic or whatever, the Etherpad is there for you to. It would be desirable to have, Linda's here, thank you. And just if any of you is willing to connect to the Jabber room and act as a scribe, simply paying attention to what others say and go to the mic to transmit any question from the people participating by Jabber, that would be very, very much appreciated. It's something very simple. You have just to keep reading a screen that, very seldom gets any questions, and bring the question to the mic. You won't be held responsible for anything that is said on Jabber. You are just a messenger. Anyone? Okay. That's it's always encouraging having a so collaborative audience. Another announcement about research-related events. In the old days, we had a list here. This has changed because we have too many lately, which is a good sign. And what we use is a list, the Nfvrg list for announcing this. Any call for papers, any call for demos, contributions, whatever, please use the list for that. But please limit the announcement to research-relevant events, not to announce new releases of software, not to announce for sure seminars on products or whatever. Otherwise, we should have to moderate the list. If you have any doubt whether a particular announcement is is appropriate or not, ask us. We are here to help you on this. Finally, before we move on the agenda itself, just a few announcements. One is that the draft that we call originally the GAPS, or the one on the technology situation, has passed the IRSG poll, so we hope to go to the IESG for analysis, and it will be hopefully soon in the RFCQ. Second is an announcement that we will have an interim meeting on the week 17, the one starting on the 23rd of April in the Bay Area. We still have to decide the concrete place, but it will be duly announced on the list. The idea is that a few of us have been talking about model-driven optimization, how you can rely on model definition to optimize placement and the life cycle in general of network functions. And there are a few people working on this there. There is an event, an industrial event that is happening in the Bay Area during those days. So we will take the opportunity to have, it will be a half day, depending on the number of speakers, it will be a half day or 1 day event in which the idea is to present use cases, results on this idea of model-driven optimization. If you happen to be in the surroundings, you will be most welcome. If you are willing to participate remotely, you will be most welcome as well. So I want to draw your attention as well to other relevant documents and results that we won't have time to present today, but it's something that I would like the group to consider, to make some comments, remarks, whatever you have on them. One is a new version of this draft that was presented in Singapore, if I remember well, on anticipated adaptation. I don't have put a direct link or explicit link because it should be easy to find it on the data tracker. Second is a document that was published on this December. It was presented in the IEEE Nfvrg SDN conference that I found very interesting. I invited the speaker. We could not make room for him, so this is the reference is on the verification of service chains, and is I think it's very much connected, or is an advances what we have in, if you remember, a document that's been around this group for quite a while on precisely on service chain verification, and I think it's a worth reading. Finally, something that has been presented at the ICNRG that we had to balance the agendas. So is a paper on how on the experience of deploying ICN stacks using NFV techniques. So it has been presented and demonstrated at the ICNRG. So if you are interested, go to the material site. You will find it on the under ICNRG. Well, basically, just to finish, a few remarks on the agenda of the IETF. There will be on Friday.
Yeah.
There will be above.
No,
on
Thursday.
On Thursday, there will be above on a proposed group that is called CAMS on network slice orchestration, and there will be the second above, and this is the moment in which it will be decided whether it will become a working group or not. If you're interested in network slicing, pay a visit. We have been discussing this morning the I2NSF capability model. If you're interested, have a look at it. This morning there was a IETF open. I know I'm late, but if you're interested in how IETF is evolving in general, you can go for and look at the materials. And there is a BARBOF on edge computing today as well. Whoever is interested, I don't know if Sheng is here. No, I don't see him. So, well, I can give you some details later on if you are interested in participating. Whatever else you have, we will go at the end. Hopefully, we'll have 10 minutes for open mic and any matters related, so we can discuss about this. We can make a short presentation of some of the drafts on the documents that were that they mentioned before that are not part of the agenda currently. So we will move on and go for Carlos to take care. If you don't mind, Carlos, deal with your three drafts in a row, and then we hand the talk to Pedro. Okay, thank you. ¿Tienes eso?
No. Okay, so first quick update on the GAPS draft. So basically the status is that the version 06 was sent to the IRC for comment. We got very good reviews from Michael Wells and Dave Oran. And then we addressed those comments in the releases on the update 7 and 8. And then on version 8, we also got a review by Vincent Roca, mainly related to, well, there were different comments, but some that were very critical to address were related to the IETF guidelines, that there were some things that we didn't follow. So we addressed those in version 9. So we believe that the document is now ready. Since the beginning, I think the document has been reviewed by more than 20 people. So I think it reflects the research group view. So from the author side, we believe that is ready for the next step.
And what I'll do precisely is ask the IETF chair just to move this on.
Okay. So
I don't know if you have any comments. Or just to remark that if everything goes well, it will be our first published document, which is, well, is an achievement. Okay, so let's move on. This one.
Okay, so this is an update on a document that has been around for a while. Basically, it's about multi-domain virtualization, multi-domain orchestration. Originally, this work came from one project that we are involved. And recently, in this version, actually, we merged or we joined, team up forces with another project that is now basically taking or leveraging on the results from the original project. So you can see that the number of authors has increased, and now we have people from CTTC, NEC, SSA, Networks, Mirantis, and Interdigital. So the rationale of the document, I will spend just 1 minute on this, is about the need for multi-domain orchestration. So there are scenarios, even for the pure point of view of infrastructure, where you want to orchestrate resources from or belonging to different domains, and also from the point of view of services that you may want to put in or join or put together functions that are managed by different domains. So this was the base rationale for this kind of document. Then there are things that need to be done that are not yet done, considering Nfvrg architecture in order to enable this multi-domain orchestration, and there is room for IETF protocols to fill some of the gaps that we found there. So with that in mind, we started this document with basically with this 5GX project that is a project dealing with multi-domain orchestration in particular. And then now it's also getting input from another project that is called 5G Transformer, which is also doing this in a more global scope for slicing for vertical industries and considering federation of domains. So here, just to show what has changed in one single slide, you can see that there is a lot of new comment. Even the size of the document has increased from 16 pages to 33 pages. This comes from the new additions on content from the 5G Transformer project. So there are more details on the different interfaces and the things that IETF could look at for those interfaces. Very simply, this is the architecture that we started to look at in 5GX. Like, okay, you have a multi-domain kind of orchestrator, multi-provider orchestrator, that is then dealing with the domain orchestrators and also interacting with other multi-provider orchestrators, this interface in the middle, and with whatever customer it is in the interface that you have on the northbound. So this was the initial architecture, and we basically in the document describe each of these particular interfaces, what are the things, the functionalities that has to be provided. And 5G Transformer basically follows a very similar approach. I will not go into details for the sake of time. but it's basically the same, adding a new functionality with this vertical slicer, which is basically the functionality dealing with the final customers. That in the case of this approach are the vertical industry. So you want to have a slice for e-health, you want to have a slice for industry 4.0, you want to have a slice for vehicular. So that's basically the role of the vertical slicer, to get that request and to manage the slice in one single domain on multiple domains for if that's required. So that's basically it. So next steps in 5GX, we are validating software proof of concept of this architecture. So there is running code. Most of it is open source. You can check on the website. This will be taken by 5G Transformer, as I mentioned. So there is a commitment from people to leverage on that result and evolved. In 5G Transformer, we will be also doing open source, mainly to committing to main open source project like OSM or others like ONAP. So there are some things that will be moved there. So question is, or request is for the people here to provide feedback on this. We believe that is a lot of content that may be useful in a very valid topic, that is multi-domain orchestration. Well, eventually we believe that it's a topic that could be potentially adopted, but that's for next discussion, not for future discussion. So if you have any comments on this, that will be very appreciated, or on the mailing list. So
okay, any comments? Looks like not.
Then we can go to the next one.
Sorry?
We can go to the next one. We are fine on time, right?
Yes.
And the last presentation is about new work that we are looking at, about discovery of resources, and basically dynamic association between those resources of the virtual infrastructure manager and the NFVO. So basically the motivation here is that we are looking, or there are some scenarios in which the resources are dynamically appearing and disappearing and volatile or mobile. So you cannot assume like a data center environment, which everything is kind of fixed and known, and you can pre-configure things, but it's more about, okay, I have resources on my mobile device, on my car, and the access infrastructure, and then I connect and I may be discovering those resources that I can potentially use and orchestrate. So with that idea, basically what we want to look is into dynamic association and discovery of virtual infrastructure manager from an orchestrator point of view. Basically, we understand that the VIM, the virtual infrastructure manager, of course, has NFVI resources associated. So what we discover is the VIM from the NFVO point of view, or the other way around. From the NFVO, from the VIM, we discover potential NFVOs in a mobile dynamic environment. So this is what we have in mind. So some examples of the resources of the scenario, that we are considering. On the top part of the figure, you see that is in the network, there is some orchestration capabilities, of course, with some resources available, but the idea is to also discover resources that are mobile, that get attached to the network, that can potentially be used by that orchestration intelligence in the network. So the idea is how to make those resources, mobile resources, advertised and discovered by the network. On the bottom part of the figure, what we get is a mobile orchestrator that is connected to a network, and basically that orchestration capability or intelligence wants to discover resources that can be orchestrated to be used for a particular functionality. So it's the mobile NFVO connecting to the network and trying to discover potential resources that could be used in the infrastructure or even by other mobile nodes that are available. So that's, in a 1-minute summary, the idea behind the draft. So this is not standardized in NetCNFV as far as we understand. We believe there is room for this to enable protocols to convey this discovery, to enable this association between the VIM and the NFVI and the NFVO, in dynamic environments. So again, the idea is that for you, if you are interested in working with that, let us know. We will now start looking into potential solutions. There are some projects where we will be doing proof of concepts of these solutions. So comments are, as usual, very welcome. And that's it. I made it in
No,
time.
we're not doing bad in time-wise. Any comments? There's no-
This is Linda Dunbar from Huawei. So when you talk about advertising Vim and Nfvrg, who do you advertise to?
Basically, imagine that you have a manual architecture. So you have an orchestrator, you have resources, but you want to find more resources that you can use. So there may be some other devices that are mobile that have available resources, and you advertise them in the network for others to potentially associate those resources and use for a given time. So you basically advertise for potential users of those resources, the resources that you have.
So you're talking about compute, storage,
Yeah, you mean that, yeah,
resources?
compute, storage, networking capabilities, depending on the use case. We have different use cases in which, depending on the use case, there are different resources that you want to advertise. But yeah, in general, those three resources, compute, storage, and networking, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I have another question. Especially, I understand one of the directions. I understand some infrastructure announcing availability, but I can hardly imagine the need to discover an NFVO. I mean, an NFVO is something that requires a strong trust foundations because it's going to control everything that you deploy. I find it a little bit unusual or strange.
Well, the idea is that you have resources available, and of course, you will have to solve this trust thing. So it's part of the discovery is also you make your resources discover or available for those that can use them, not for everybody. So of course, there is some trust
Okay, so the offering would be of the resources, and that will be mutual authentication or
okay. It's not for anybody to use, but for those that are authorized and you have the proper relationship.
No, I thought that you were proposing as well to have an NFVO for hire or as a service or something like that.
No, that's not what we mean. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Well, Pedro.
Okay.
Me mandaste solo un PDF, ¿verdad? Ahora va a ser la parte divertida. No, el problema es que tengo que conseguir que esto... ¿Yo? Slideshow. No, tengo que mover. Lo tengo que mover antes, espérate. Como eres así atravesado, otro PDF. No, yo lo tengo que hacer ahí. Es que esto es una putada.
Okay, very quick update. This is the draft I was presenting when I was still in Berlin. So since that time, we've had... What is this doing?
No, that you had to, let me... No, I had to pause it. And then you have to...
Fine.
Then you can use it.
Let's see. No. Okay, and I'll tell you the next one. So this was presented in Berlin last time. It was already full. I got some volunteers to read through it, so thank you very much for the reading. I then integrated all the comments I got from the people. Most important thing is that we have a real live implementation, which is completely finished and available in the GitHub there. Main, if you want, drawback is that it needs an Open Daylight to run on top. Highlights, it generates output for the legacy OpenMano and OSM and provides a very clean template for adapting for any other platform or format you might need. Next, please. So I have to recognize I have a love-hate relationship with ODL. And one of the things this project really needs is to have an update for more recent frameworks in ODL, or even to make it ODL independent. That's something we are looking for how to see how to progress. And then the other challenge or plans for us is to apply it in real life. So we have a European project, which is the MUMMI project, doing measurements and stuff, and we are moving that into an NFV environment. And in that NFV environment, what you have is chains, very long chains, because you have producers, you have middle boxes, you have many things. And that in normal OSM or open monolore would be a very complex yang. So we are going to be using that scenario to see how easy it is to use this NEMO language to do things. Because again, YAML is quite tricky. It's extremely time consuming and very error prone. Next and last, I think. Yeah, so I continue to be open to further requests or suggestions. So if someone reads the document, please come forward. And if in a reasonable time there's none, I would like to see this draft moving in the pipeline and maybe being adopted in the work group, and hopefully at one point in time seeing the same result as Carlos is seeing in these days. So that's all. Any questions, any comments?
Comments, you can keep moving on the pipeline. Yes.
Yeah, I would like to see it adopted, and from there on, let's see what happens.
I think when we have some direct, when we can add some direct operational or usage experience would be ideal. I mean,
Yeah.
when we have some results from
Yeah,
this,
maybe then what you're saying is another turn with incorporating results from what we've been doing in MAMI, for example, for the next
yeah.
for the next meeting. Okay,
Okay.
point taken.
Okay, so if we move into now. So now I have to recover my mouse that is somewhere. Yes, here. So let's move on. The next section that we have in the agenda, those has a couple of introductions on NFV-based experimental activity facilities that are being both of them have been deployed as part of the FIRE European program. First one is 5G in FIRE. Aloisio, I'll open your slides deck right away. Here you go.
So the idea here then will be introduce the 5G in FIRE as a NFV-based experimental facility in this IETF meeting.
Mike.
Mike, talk to the end or move it. Don't I mean, move it as you are more
Okay.
comfortable, but
Okay,
stay
that's
on the pink
Okay.
square because the people that are remotely is the way they can see you.
Well, the overall goal of the 5G in FIRE is basically to build an extensible 5G NFB based ecosystem focused mainly on vertical industry. For this case, this platform is based on two main principles. First one is the architectural standards based in the ETSI NFV reference architecture. Second is based in the open source technology. To validate and also to initial the platform, we are focused on two vertical industries, the 5G automotive industries and also smart city industry as the vertical. Actually, currently, we already have a 5G in FIRE ecosystem already deployed and operational. And I will talk later, we have already the open calls where we are looking for extend the functionality as well the new infrastructures to this 5G in FIRE platform and also make it available for new experimenters. Here, as you can see in these figures, I present the overall 5G in FIRE reference model architecture that is based, as I said before, in the existing open source projects like OpenStack, Open Daylight as a SDN controller. And also for the orchestrator, we are working for open source Manu based in the ETSI reference architecture. These architectures of 5G in FIRE is composed of 4 main building blocks. The first one, we introduce a new concept of VNFs that we call experimental instances of verticals, where we define the VXF. In this case, we are not looking just for network functions. We are looking to go beyond from the application layer, all the functionalities from the application layer until to the network layer. Then we have the automated management and orchestrations, that is ETSI compliant. And finally, we have then as the third building blocks, we have the 5G Infinity design and architectures framework by itself, where we can define new APIs and extend the include new facilities, as well as new functionalities. The last one, for building blocks, we have the network function virtualization infrastructure that include the compute node, the network node, or the storage node by itself. This reference model, I have here the core architectural components. This figure shows the core architectural components of the 5G Infinity, mapping to the ETSI reference architecture Nfvrg. What you can see here that we have in 5G Infinity a web portal where you can the experiment can upload the network service descriptor as well VNF descriptor to upload the experiment. And also through this portal, we can do the 5G Infinity administrator can manage the 5G platform by itself. This can be mapping to the ETSI reference architectures regarding to the operational support system or business support system. Here we have all the orchestrations of the VNFs or VXFs, where you have the OSM manual, where you have the capability of the service orchestration, the resource orchestrations, and the VSA, the configurations of the VNF. Another map by itself is the Nfvrg, the infrastructure by itself, where we have the store node, the computing node, and the network node. Basically, to validate this infrastructure, this ecosystem, 5G ecosystem, we have start with two vertical industries, and at the same time, 4 use cases. The first one is automotive industry, where you deploy a car overtake use cases to validate the platform. This car overtake, we use the vehicular network that was deployed in Nfvrg in Portugal. Another use case that we have using is the smart city safety that has been deployed in Bristol, in city center, where you work with smart city security. For both of these use cases, we deploy a VNF. The first one, we use a VNF video transcoder based in Nfvrg. And the second one, we implement a VNF based in the OpenCV, FMPEG video transcode as well, and a machine learning technique to do face detections. And both of them has been deployed in tests to validate the 5G architecture platform in real environment. The other use case is more generic. The first one, we use the ping pong, is a well-known network service to debug, test the infrastructure, mainly when we have the multi-site or multi-domain orchestrations. Then we have also our unified gateway, is another use case, generic use case, where we deploy the concept of 5G in a box, where we deploy in Bristol the LTE architecture, where we have in node B, okay, and the EPC, the core of the network. What we have done here is we virtualize the core of the network in the EPC and put this in the repository as the vertical in the 5G Infinity that will be available for the experimenters. The general idea of this case is to validate the infrastructure by itself and also serve as inspirations and motivations for new incoming third parties and experimenters to extend the functionality that we had provided in this beginning of the project. All these use cases is available in a week, 5G Infinity web portal as a week, and serves as a guideline for new experimenters and new facilities that intend to join to us. Basically here, I'm gonna go to show quickly here how works the 5G whole ecosystem in terms of experiment. And then we have some animation here. If we manage that, if you imagine that this blue ball is an experimenter, and he has an experiment that he wants to deploy, right? And then we are expect that he has this experiment descriptor, could be in YAM or Tosca. Then he will be deploy this to the 5G Infinity portal. In 5G portal, he has this. He needs to be registered before to deploy something. Once the experiment is registered, he will be available for him all the registers available VXF or VNF for the vertical industries, where he can instantiate, modify, and update using in his experiment. Once the user has submit his network self descriptor or VNF descriptor, he can do all the configuration where he can choose in which facility he wants to run his experiment. Since we are working with multi-domain. In our case, we have deploying a facility, a test bed, in Nfvrg in Portugal, another one in 5 Tonic in Madrid, and another one in Bristol, University of Bristol. Then he can choose here where he wants to run his experiment, and at the same time, he can schedule his experiment. Once he has submitted his experiment, the managing orchestration, in our case, OSM Mano, we will receive this via API from the portal connect to the OSM Mano, the network service descriptor, and then you proceed with the right allocation of resources and which facility we're going to go to run and schedule the experiment of the users. For this, we have here the launchpad of the OSM Mano, where we are able to configure the network tenants as well the data center, which facility this experiment will run his experiment. Of course, as we are using the manager orchestrator, OSM Mano is based, we will receive the service orchestrator, we will receive the request for the portal, 5G Web 5 portal, and then we'll communicate with the resource orchestrations and the VNF configurations and abstract if necessary to deploy the experiment of the users in the specific facility or multi-facilities. Once this reconfiguration is done, as I said, we can deploy this in 5 Tonic and Madrid, or you can deploy in Nfvrg in Portugal or in Bristol. Or you can deploy this and multi-site orchestration at the same time. Since the user, the experimentant can have 2 VNFs that can be interconnected between them, but each VNF can be different sites. Currently, we have these 3 facilities operating, 5 Tonic, Nfvrg, and Bristol. Currently, we are deploying, is under construction, a new facility that Federal University of Uberlândia in Brazil, that will be joining this as for the facility. Once you have allocated the resources of the experiment in the specific facility or multi-facility, then the experiment is almost ready to run his experiment. Because we have everything connected now, you have provided the connectivity for the right VNFs or VXFs. Then he can run the experiments. Basically, we are looking to extend the functionalities and say welcome to new facilities that can enjoy the 5G platform. For this end, we have managed our what we call open calls, and we have 2 open calls. Basically, the first one is the year 1-2. This is a project of 3 years. This first open call is a call for experimenter and a new infrastructure, and they are also for the providers that want to add new functionality or new VXF or vertical industry. The second open call is the year 2/3. We are expected to receive new experiment that can explore and make better use of the 5G Infinity platform. The total funded amount is here. Budget available for the third part that we are going to support them to join us in this 5G Infinity ecosystem and helps to extend the overall the platform. Basically, the first open call in phase 1 is already closed, was opened in December of 2017 and closed in February 2018. The new one, the last one, the phase 2 will be launched in the spring 2018. The open call the second open call and phase 1 will be in autumn 2018. Basically, the open call includes 2 categories. The first category is the goal is invite the experimenter to use and explore the 5G facility that we have already, like Itiavero, 5G Madrid, and Bristol. The second category, we are looking to invite open source development of VXF developers to join to extend the capability, the functionality of 5G in 5. And also we are looking for invited designers to join us as extended the new facility. Currently, actually, we have 3 facilities operational. The fourth one is in Brazil, but we want to add more facility. Then the category 2 include new facilities coming. As I said before, the 5G Fire overall platform or ecosystem is completely open source, is available, but all the code is available in GitHub. The use cases that we have deployed, 5G car overtake, smart city say that use FFmpeg, MPEG, video transcoder, VNF, and OpenCV VNF is available in public in the GitHub as well. We have the wiki and the website for new experimenters. The release that we have been using so far in 5G in Fire ecosystem, the OSM manual is release 2, but we are right now trying to migrate to release 3. This is the main partners involved in this project. Us, Euroscom, Bicom, Itiavero, Telefônica, IC3M, USP Brazil, and University of Bristol, and Federal of Uberlândia, Brazil. Thank you. Questions?
Short question.
You have one prepared on the row.
Yeah, Yakov Stein. I'm not quite sure I understand exactly what kind of experiments, in other words, where the VNFs can be. Is this just in the core, or could it be in the RAN? If I want to, for instance, the use case that came into my mind is changing splits. Could I do some of the functionality of the radio access network as a VNF as can be done in a virtualized G node B in this project?
Yeah, you can. What the idea of 5G in Fire? The idea of 5G in Fire is provide like a repository of VXF for vertical industry. In this case, we have the experiment that only can use, for example, the existing VXF that we have there, VNF, and we have the VXF developed that can provide new functionality capability. They can develop a new VNF or VXF and deploy in this repository. Once we deploy in this repository, we need to choose which facility you can deploy this.
No, I understand that you could put theoretically the function there. The question is, where do you have the points where the function can run? Do you actually have deep into the network towards the G node Bs someplace to put the functionality, or are you always in the back? You have your servers in some centralized site?
Yeah, we have our server in centralized.
So then you
each
can't
facility,
do.
We have the server.
So you're not in the radio access network?
No.
Well,
we have the servers with the VIM. In each facility, we have the VIM. And the VIM will provide all the resources that you need.
But Jeremy, one of the things that Aloysio mentioned is with this unified gateway, the idea is that we will be able to play with virtualized functions as well for the radio environment.
okay.
I mean, not in the real network. We're not talking about production network.
Yeah, I understand, but it's just.
But no.
It's something which would be really useful to do because there's no experience right now with the differences between the different splits and how they can affect different applications when you have, let's say, delay sensitivity or something. And there's no way to do it really except if this could do it.
I mean, this should be doable. If you have an idea on this, I would recommend you to talk with the 5G in Fire.
Okay.
Because there should be doable.
Just to complement the answer here, the overall idea of the unified gateway is virtualize the EPC, okay? The node B, we expect that each facility will provide the node B. Once we have virtualized the function, the EPC of network, the building blocks of the EPC, the new facility can instantiate this, and you will be able to deploy a small cell and access the virtualization of the EPC.
And just to finalize, I don't know if it has been clear enough, but some of the facilities in this project have infrastructure that encompasses the radio access network. I don't know if you got that, because that might be also important to know.
Marco Liebsch, a brief clarifying question on slide number 9.
9, no.
So that picture, yeah, it's this one. That picture shows basically a multi-site orchestration scenario, and it's pretty centralized, right? So you have one orchestrator deployed in 5-tonic, and then you have distributed VIMs.
Exactly.
I assume that after instantiation of the different VNFs, there is quite some traffic between the different sites. So not only for, well, reports between VNFs and VNF manager, and the manager is supposed to be on the OSM side here, but there is also measurements going on in the VIM from Ceilometer, for example, which are to be reported and collected on the OSM side. So do you have any idea about the traffic that goes on between the different sites here?
Not yet. Right now, as you said, the OSM orchestrator is in 5-tonic. That is able to orchestrate multi-site, in this case, it's Aveiro and the University of Bristol. And we are right now deploying and the kind of thing that we can measure the performance when you have VNF spread along of different sites.
Okay, because that's something that struck me always. That's a picture you typically see in terms of boxes and lines in between. But I was always wondering if people consider offloading some of the NFV mono features to the different sites, just to reduce the load on the different sites in terms of, well, which kind of traffic goes on between them.
Yeah, one of the things that we are looking to work is with a VNF migration. Once you note that one of the websites is providing a VNF, and this VNF is overload, we can instantiate this in another facility and then migrate everything to there to unload the VNF.
Thanks.
Tim Chan, JISC, found it very good talk, thank you. Just a note to say I'm from your National Research Network, Janet. I don't know who you might have spoken to before, but if you need any help with the intersite links or optimizing those, feel free to catch me afterwards.
Thank you.
Hello, Kostas Yotis from BCW Global. I wanted to ask about the slicing. I think you showed that on the previous slide. How do you achieve the slicing and mostly the isolation?
1 second, because my Microsoft environment decided to update right now, so I had to tell it to go away. 1 second, please. Now, yes. This one?
Yes, Kostas Yotis, Konstantinos Yotis.
Just here.
Oh. Yes, there you talked about isolation and multi-tenancy.
Can you repeat, please, again?
On that slide, when you're going down to the orchestrator, you talked about multi-tenancy.
Exactly.
How do you achieve that, and if you achieve isolation?
Actually, this is something that we are doing now manually. We go to the OpenStack dashboard, and then we create the network tenant there, and we allocate the network tenant there. But in the future, we are trying to to provide automation in this task.
Oh, okay. So there's no mechanism yet, it's just by hand?
Just by hand, yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
This is Maysel Nadal from University of Essex. If you can go back to the next slide, please. The one with, no.
You tell me.
Number 9, the one had VPN.
Yeah. Sorry, I was moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
The next one.
Yes, thank you. So a couple of questions here. do you have flexibility over what VPN you put in here? Is it L3 or L2? And my other question is, do you have flexibility on putting any NFV or you want, or does it have you can only select from a pre-configured repository?
Just to respond first, your second question. The experiment here, he has the possibility to create a new NFV of
Right.
VXF and deploy. He can instantiate the existing one and reconfigure the parameter and use as a template.
Right, so you can import your code as a new
Yeah, you
NFV
can.
that doesn't exist. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And is that L2 or L3?
It's L3, layer
L3.
3.
Okay, thank you.
Any
Okay.
more questions?
No, please, we're running out of time.
Dinos Katsaros, Intercom Telecom Greece. I saw that you not only have network functions, but also application services like automotive support, for automotive.
Yeah.
And this brings my mind close to mobile edge computing, where the operations are different and the VNFs are managed by different actors. And this is related to the question about slicing. So I would imagine that a different entity actor operates and manages an application level component as opposed to a network function. So I have two questions based on this observation. The first one is whether you have any plans of extending this environment to also cater for mobile edge computing aspects like location APIs and stuff like that, which is not an Nfvrg issue. And the other relates to whether you have any plans of enhancing the operational capabilities for verticals, which is related to the slicing part.
Regard to the first one, yes, we intend to extend the capability to the MIC node. Okay, for example, the use case that I told about the smart city safety, where we were working with 360-degree cameras, where the cameras move around of the city, and we use the VNF video transcoder. We are trying to bring the computation, take care of the computations, the VNF video transcoder, and the face detection algorithm from the cloud, and bring it close to the user, in this case, to the edge. But we are still figure out how you're going to go to deploy this in the edge of the networking using the OSM manual orchestrator.
Okay. Do you plan to extend this or allow within the open calls? Or whatever?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll take it.
We extend
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, if you have any idea on that, come to the open call. We'll talk about it. Thanks, Luis. Sorry that I'm trying to keep the. So our next presentation is on software that is somehow related. I mean, related in the sense that it's running under the same project. And now this is a PDF as well. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, but anyway. If you don't mind to stand there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, hi there. I'm Sardar Vural from 5G Innovation Center, University of Surrey. Today I'm going to basically briefly explain to you our nearly finished European Union project, H2020 project, which has a lot of correlations with IC with 5G in Fire project. This is about a federated and orchestrated virtualization testbed for network functions virtualization and software-defined networks, especially in the context of 5G systems. So the project basically has put a lot of effort in orchestrating a multi-site deployment across Europe in multiple countries. This involves Germany sites in Fraunhofer Focus and Technical University of Berlin, University of Surrey 5G IC Center, and Ericsson particularly, and also Deutsche Telekom was involved. And later on we had other partners like Assembly Data Systems from Italy. Other companies also provided their security solutions, as well as management and also connectivity solutions for the project. And the project also published a white paper regarding the construction of such testbed, with many practical implications when you actually use open source software, how you ensure interoperability and programmability in an environment. Many issues that we encountered when we actually realized this as part of the H2020 program. So the targets of this project were essentially to demonstrate and assess the level of maturity of a set of adopted software solutions, open source solutions for NFV and SDN. I think we are all familiar with the main solution in this space, such as OpenStack and OpenDaylight. And we would want to integrate these solutions in a federated testbed environment and then enable the use of this testbed to ecosystems of third parties across Europe. And we also want to support the third parties by providing them with a programmable, extensible platform for testing their NFV and SDN solutions. And we were particularly interested in 5G applications, either connectivity or new applications and solutions for new systems and exciting technologies. And the three key elements towards this were interoperability, operability, programmability, and security. This slide essentially shows you the overall architecture of the middleware, which is actually the innovation that this project brought about. Essentially, on top of the orchestration, which binds the different testbed sites, we each running an OpenStack Vim, we had a software middleware running, which essentially is responsible for interpreting an experimentation package and then making sure that the experimenter's intended testbeds are involved and their intended operations are involved, such as if the experimenter is particularly interested in programmability or using software-defined networking, then the experiment manager would actually involve its specialized manager, which is an SDN manager underneath. You can see 5 managers here: SDN manager, monitoring manager, NFV manager, security manager, and physical device manager. The manager structure is essentially quite modular, so you can actually bring about your special manager structure if you want to. And the project also, via its open source software, provides how to extend this modular middleware by defining and building your own managing software. Underneath, you would see OpenButton, which is an HC Mano compliant orchestrator. And it also has seen a lot of developments in the past years and it's proven to be a very powerful orchestrator now. And it's fully integrated with the different testbeds in this project. For more information, you can see our white paper publication on our website, which is on Software's approach to experimentation, why and how. The basic view of an experimenter of the uses of the software middleware is a dashboard. And on the dashboard, software user or experimenter would see a number of resources that are readily available for them to use. The experiment essentially prepares a cloud archive file, which contains their experiment definition in YAML format, along with another archive file which includes their network service descriptors, that obviously includes their virtual network function descriptors, as well as any scripts that require orchestration lifecycle events. Apart from that, there are also some metadata information about the experiment overall. The usage manual that we provide as part of one of our deliverables provides an extensive technical information regarding how an experimenter would use the platform. The experiment access and support essentially was a big part of the project because each experimenter comes with their own requirements, which are not always feasible with the platform you would want to you make available. Sometimes you need to make compromises, sometimes you need to make some special cases for them and provide some flexibility, but other times you would have to say no, because that would explain the idea of shared resources and a shared platform. Just like the 5G Empire project presented, we had open calls, and during this open calls, there were multiple experimenters running on the platform. To provide them with sufficient support and timely support, we had specialized dedicated Slack channels for each experimenter, as well as shared Slack channels among all open call participants. We also had a ticketing system which experimenters could use if they wanted to, which were then assigned to particular testbed owners. And there's a web portal where the experimenter can log on and perform their experiments. The past experimentation events essentially had quite a few objectives, with the main focus on interworking and interoperability. And obviously, as for any H2020 project, we were targeting for scientific excellence and industrial innovation. We wanted to extend the current federated testbed with new functionality. So this is something we always emphasize in our open calls. Particularly for 5G applications, architectural extensions for NFV. So we had seen experimenters coming to us with who wanted to extend the functionalities of the orchestrator itself with some additional plugins. So because it's an open source software, they did have access to the API, and they provided their software with standard API descriptions. And then the support team basically enabled them to use the API exposed by the orchestrator. The experimentation way format is obviously proposals, feasible check, and then there was a 3-month process for the platform access, and after all, evaluation of technical reports. You can see the first, second, and third wave of experimenters on our website as well. The past experimentation waves on so far had a lot of topics. This required a lot of back-end support for various topics. So you would need to really work with your experimenters 24/7 almost, because they would need to reach your platform whenever they want to within a 3-month process. So you need to reply to them in time. Otherwise, they can be off the track. But the good thing is supporting this many applications for the third parties created a really good ecosystem, and we were really proud about supporting NFV ASTM and especially 5G community for very popular topics recently. And we will be publishing 2 white papers about the experiments that were performed on our federated testbed.
Sorry, no.
Apart from the open calls, within its 27 months period, the project also did organize a number of hackathon events, which took place in 2017, 2 of them. And there is an upcoming innovation hackathon, which is the final event of the project, which is going to take place in Rome, in Ericsson facilities. There is an open day for this event on Monday, and after that we will actually invite new applications for this event. Please check our website for all the information.
Again, I'm sorry, but I have no.
One of the partner use cases, actually this was performed in 5G IC facilities, was network slicing in the 5G core. Basically, 5G IC Center developed a number of software pieces following 3GPP standards, essentially for control plane user separation, and dedicated user plane slices to different experimenters so that they would actually be assigned with a certain user plane slice, effectively providing isolation of network core services to them, and context awareness as well. So the project would like to share its experience with other FIRE projects and other 5G deemed projects, especially in the FESTM community. Please check out our open source middleware software, which we are now revising, and we will be upgrading soon. And we would like to really contribute to standardization bodies, especially IETF, which is why I'm here today. We have a lot of white papers, and which some of them are upcoming, and also the technical deliverables. A couple of useful links, general software websites, our middleware, and experiment manager, and also the GitHub repository. Please check them out. Thank you very much. Any questions?
I have a short one while he goes to, it was not a question, fine. So are you also going to be publishing the open button stuff on your GitHub, or is it going to be on the public GitHub for open button?
Open button is already available. I think should be in the GitHub of open button itself.
So of
it's
the open
public,
button,
it's
of the
open
open
source.
button project, yes.
It's open source.
Thank you.
Al, please,
Yes, thank you. Al Morton. Wait a minute, is this on?
just.
Looks like it's on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess.
Sort of? Maybe I should just go to the front one. So back on slide, oh yeah, this one really works. Back on slide 7, you mentioned VNF and SDN benchmarking. What kind of components did you benchmark? And I guess I'm asking prior to the publication of results, I guess.
This is really very important topic, actually, especially in terms of the mobile core network. We performed a couple of benchmarking measurements about the effect of virtualization on the performance, user plane performance between end-to-end, essentially, between actual mobile device, communicating through the core network, and to intranet and internet endpoints. The benchmarking was between a softwareized core network versus virtualized core network. And in terms of virtualization, we also it wouldn't be benchmarking, it's a performance measurement of actual orchestrated deployment of mobile core network deployments, in which case the deployment was performed remotely from Germany. So the experimenter is anywhere else in the world, uses the dashboard to essentially deploy user plane functionalities of a mobile core with the orchestrator located in Germany in our UK facility. And we have demonstrated the end-to-end functionality between different network slices over the federated testbed during many demonstration events. So the benchmarking results were essentially for mobile core networks.
And so you used classic core network performance metrics. Those are the things that you measured.
Yes, because we were particularly interested in the effects of virtualization.
Yeah.
So we wanted to compare non-virtualized soft
Right.
core running on bare metal versus VNFs running on OpenStack platform.
Very good. I look forward to the paper. Thank you.
Pierre Lynch. Just so I understand correctly, the results and all the tests that were run and everything are not published yet? They're forthcoming in the white papers coming up, or I just want to make sure?
Some of the white papers have been published. There are 4 of them available on the website at the moment. The 2 white papers about experimenters will be published very soon. And we are also preparing a submission of a journal paper that would bring everything together, hopefully.
What would be desirable is precisely that if you can share a link to the white papers, the ones available now, and when they become available in the future, you share it on the Nfvrg list, would be really appreciated.
Definitely. They are currently available on the website as well, and I would be very happy to share with IETF.
Share it on the list, that would be.
Sure.
Another question. You said there's something happening in April and it's your last event of the project.
Hackathon.
That's it? You're done? Is this over? Or I want to make sure I understand that as well.
We would like to keep the platform open after the project is officially over, so that basically people can actually use the platform. So this would actually make it available for us to transfer our know-how and knowledge to next 5G and FIRE projects and related infrastructure projects.
Tim,
Just a fairly quick one. Did you manage to get IPv6 supported fully through the testbed? And if not, what were the problem areas you ran into?
Can you repeat the question again?
IPv6.
Did you manage
You
to get it
managed to
across
put
the whole
IPv6.
infrastructure? And if not, were there specific problems you ran into that would be interesting to share?
That was not one of the focus areas, but interesting.
All right, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please
Thanks a lot.
share the information on the list as soon as you can. Thank you.
Okay, I'm down to about half my time. So let's see if we can do this. I'm going to talk about something really, really controversial, and I was hoping to get responses from the audience, but I guess we're not going to have a time for it, so I'm going to run through it.
You never know. We have 20 minutes. If people want to spend their break here.
This is originally an hour talk. I brought it down to a half hour. Let's see what we can do in 20 minutes.
No,
Okay.
no, I had to find where my 1 second because I had to find
Okay.
where my pointer is.
Take another minute.
No.
Okay. Yeah, we're starting here. Quick reminder of something that I showed you in the first Nfvrg meeting, long time ago already. I differentiate between a regular communication service like we've known in the past, which simply says, take this number of bits, move it from here to here. Maybe there's a delay constraint. Maybe you need at least so-and-so bandwidth, but that was pretty much it. And what I call a rich communication service, which is a combination of computation and communications. In other words, you take a bunch of bits from here to there, but on the way, you have to do all sorts of non-trivial computation on it.
If you allow me, this is a reminder. Sign the blue sheets, please. I forgot to set it before. Sorry.
And that's another reminder. Sign the blue sheets. In any case, so I'm going to be talking about rich communication services today. That's why I want to remind you I've been using this term in the past. I'm going to skip this one. The thing that people really are interested in from a communication service and a rich communication service is the quality of experience. Quality of experience is a subjective metric, and it is only an end-to-end metric, and it's recognized by the user. Now, what we measure in general is what's called quality of service, QoS KPIs, QoS parameters. QoS parameters are simply things which are easy to measure. They don't directly mean anything to the end user. However, the reason they are relevant, the reason people measure packet loss, packet delay variation, etc., is because there is this belief that given the application, there is a relationship between a bunch of QoS parameters and the quality of experience as the user sees this. Now, we have actually, over the last few years, discovered actual equations. We have the mathematical relations for a bunch of different applications. For instance, for conversational voice over IP, you tell me what the codec type is, you tell me what the packet loss is, and the packet loss distribution, tell me the delay, and I can give you something which correlates very well with the mean opinion score. If the same for streaming video, the same for web browsing, there's a whole bunch of things which have been done. These equations are known, so they reinforce our feeling that QoS is relevant. We measure QoS because it's an easy thing to measure, but it also is relevant to the real thing that we're interested in, which is quality of experience. Unfortunately, all of this information that we have, all of the research up to now has been on what I called at the beginning, regular communication services. This has not been looked into again for rich communication services. And unfortunately, when we started looking at it, we found out something very interesting. We have found out that the quality of experience can be proved not to be, in general, of course, a simple function of the application and quality of service parameters. And that's what I want to show you here. I want to show you why QoS can be completely meaningless. When I say QoS, I mean the typical parameters that one measures for communication services, like packet loss and continuity and packet delay and things of that sort. All of that is completely useless to predict quality of experience for rich communication services. And that's what I want to prove to you. Okay? This is I'm gonna do a quick overview of some of the proofs that we've done. Now, how do you prove these? The way we're going to prove that it's irrelevant is by doing what we call in physics thought experiments, or Gedanken experiments. Einstein loved that term. In any case, what we're going to do is we're going to take a KPI, like packet loss or delay, and then we're going to show that there is some kind of network function which is in the path of a rich communication service for which that KPI is either meaningless or even counterintuitive. I'm going to show you as the last example that link down can improve quality of experience. In other words, complete lack of continuity is actually good for you sometimes. But let's start with an easier case. I'm going to start with the really, really simple ones and move up to the more ridiculous ones. Okay, and once again, this is controversial. If you want to say afterwards that you think I'm crazy, go ahead. I'm willing to debate it. Number one.
As long as you aim well, you are allowed even to throw things on him.
And as long as we do it before 3, which is 15 minutes from now. So, thought experiment number 1. Let's talk about an intrusion protection system. What's an intrusion protection system? It's a fancy firewall. Basically, what it does is it takes packets and discards them. And this can be someplace deep in the network. It can be at the edge. It can be different places. Now, when it discards a packet, if I measure packet loss, I'm going to see a positive packet loss. We are used to packet loss being bad. In other words, the higher the packet loss, we think the lower the quality of experience is going to be. But if you think about it, if I get rid of a bad packet, which could infect your computer and cause you to have loss of experience, you're going to be really, really sad about getting that packet. Then throwing out that packet increased your quality of experience. In other words, you're happy about there being packet loss as long as it's those packets I got rid of. Okay? So here, higher packet loss means better quality of experience. But that's a really tricky case. Let's talk about something which is more convincing than that one. Let's talk about the following function, a TCP proxy. By TCP proxy, I mean something we put in someplace along the communications path, which resegments. It terminates the TCP and does it on the other side again. And the reason this is done is to accelerate the communications. It makes the delay of the TCP shorter, which means you can get more bandwidth. However, it resegments. What does that mean? It means that you can have a TCP proxy. 3 IP packets come in and only 2 go out because their segmentation is done again. Or 3 can come in and 4 can go out, depending on the segmentation that TCP does. Now, if I have 3 packets going in and 2 coming out, and I count how many packets I received, I see packet loss, but all the bytes get there. There's no change to quality of experience. Actually, there's better quality of experience because I reduce the delay. So I have high packet loss. Now look at this. 3 can come in and 4 go out. I have negative packet loss. And the quality of experience is better. Negative packet loss? This is ridiculous. Okay. You're saying, don't count packets, count the bytes. You're doing a trick on us. You're trying to pull one over. Count the bytes. Okay, so let's look at the volume, traffic volume, the number of bytes. What happened? It's projector loss. It's not just packet loss. Okay, let's talk about the following function. WAN optimization, meaning compression. Where I say compression, I mean either lossless data compression or data dedupe or video or audio compression or transcoding or something of that sort. All of these mechanisms take a certain number of bytes and output a lower number of bytes, but the same information is either heard or seen, so the quality of experience is the same. Actually, once again, after compressing, before the compression, I might have had too much data and I would have packet loss because of it. I compressed it down, everything flies through, I get this really good experience, and there are fewer bytes received than were sent. So traffic volume is once again counterintuitive. I lose the number of bytes I sent and everything is better than it was before. So all of the people here who have taken basic information theory courses are saying, okay, bytes is not right. We have to look at the Shannon information in those bytes, not count the bytes, right? Well, okay, let's look at Shannon information, but look at the following function. WAN optimization, once again, but a caching server, a CDN, right? Now, if you think about it, if I'm being fed from a CDN cache someplace, and I measure packet loss, a very high packet loss, even lack of continuity, on the path from the original backend server to the cache, I can have packet loss of 90% and no one would know it. I can have lack of continuity, and the video comes through fine and everyone's happy. So packet loss doesn't mean anything. Okay, once again, you're saying that's a tricky one. Because many of you who are doing OEM and things of that sort are saying, well, you're looking at tricky cases. That's not what you should do. The way you measure packet loss is by sending synthetic packets. And those synthetic packets are not going to be trampled on by compression, and no one's going to gobble them up, and they're not malware, so no one's going to stop them. And that's the way you should measure, right? Well, that's true. I'm not saying you can't measure packet loss. I'm just saying synthetic packets are completely useless for measuring quality of experience because they are not fate sharing with the real packets. The only thing that affects quality of experience is the real packets or something that fate shares with them and gets the right parameter. So you can measure these things, sure you can, but they don't mean anything. So here's a really good example. Oh, wait a second, I'm not getting there. I have a few before I get to the really, really good one that's going to floor you. Let's talk about delay. Up to now, we've been talking about packet loss. Packet delay is something else that people really like to look at because there are interactive services where delay is important. Now, if you think about what I spoke about up to now, you already see that delay is problematic because if I change the number of packets and resegment them, then which packet do I count the delay on? Okay, once again, you can say, well, count the delay on the bytes coming in, but if I did compression, which byte? So once again, it's undefined, but there's an even stronger argument about delay. Let's talk about web browsing for a moment. Now, a web browser, and by the way, this was discussed this morning at the IETF open meeting. A web browser can actually receive as part of its data code, like JavaScript or CSS or something, which actually has to be run on the local processor. So depending what's in the data packet, I can receive something really fast, but it might take a long time until it comes up on my screen. And the quality of experience is based on how long until I see the screen or until it's stabilized. App decks, for those of you know of it, say it should be about 6 to 8 seconds. A lot more than 8 seconds until my screen stabilizes bad. I can get the packet after a second, but it didn't stabilize because the JavaScript is really working on my CPU. So therefore, the network delay is not what's important in this case. I have to know what the content of the packet is. And the web browser is, once again, a kind of network function. It's just one at the edge. Okay, that might not convince you. Let me give you the real clincher. Think of the following diagram you see here. It's sort of like a fish diagram, right? Where from a server, I'm serving some information to a PC or mobile, and it normally goes link 1, link 3, link 5, that's fine. Oh, sorry, link 1, link 2, link 4, link 6, fine. And I get a certain quality of experience. And then link 2 goes down. Someone came along and cut your fiber. And the system finds a way of rerouting into link 1, link 3, link 5, and goes through server 2. Now, it might happen that server 2 has a lot more spare capacity than server 1 did, or it might have a better upgrade of the software, and all of a sudden the end user has a better quality of experience. In other words, because server 1, which was along the original path, was either not upgraded or was undergoing a really bad time because a lot of people were hitting it, and I went to server 2 instead, my quality of experience increased, improved. What caused it? Link down. Now, we're used to link down meaning my service went away. I'm really unhappy. And here, link down improved the quality of experience. So all of these cases were all to show you that all these things that we've taken for granted all these years, that you can look at packet loss, and you can look at delay, and you can look at even link down, link up, and based on that, predict quality of experience, that's not true. Now, actually, all of this is even worse. You know, up to now, I was just talking about the function. That could have been an appliance. What happens if I have NFV now, or specifically DNFV, distributed NFV? As long as I had fixed appliances, physical around the place, you could say, okay, I know that function is there, and I can take it into account when I'm doing my calculation. But once I'm doing NFV, these functions are moving around. They can be there today and not be there tomorrow. I don't know what's there because some orchestrator decides the best place to put that function right now is right here. A moment ago, it was someplace else. I don't know what's happening. So if I measure these QoS parameters, there's no way I can figure out what's going on. It's meaningless. I cannot predict QoE in this new world. So what do you have to do in order to be able to measure QoE? Well, one way is put your back up against the wall and say QoE is end-to-end. It's measured by the endpoint. Let the endpoint measure it. In other words, capture QoE estimation like it's done, let's say, in voice over IP, where someone is measuring the voice coming in. Or you can indirectly estimate QoE based on the user's behavior. If a user is using a thing and you see all of a sudden he's resetting his TCP connection, in other words, he's saying, this is bad, I'm going away. Do statistics on that, you can say something. You can measure QoE of synthetic packets, but they have to be fate sharing. You have to craft them in a certain way so they do mean something. You can perhaps correlate QoS KPIs with other kinds of KPIs. For instance, look at those NFVI elements along the way. See how the CPU is going. See how much memory you're using. Maybe in that case, you could do something like if you knew what the function is. If you don't know what the function is, maybe machine learning can figure out, if I give you a lot of information about what kind of CPU I have, how much CPU is going on, etc., maybe you could figure it out. I'm not sure, but something that could be researched. Of course, all this is how to estimate it. What do I do about it? Up to now, QoS is something I measure in the network because I said, okay, if it gets really bad, I have to do a protection switch. I have to do a reroute. What do I do about all that now? Who knows? It's an amazing new world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
4 minutes for questions.
Exactly. Well,
And tomatoes.
rotten eggs.
Hello, this is Mace from University of Essex. If you can go back to the link down, I must say I strongly disagree with you in here because that's where traffic engineering comes in. That's why you have resource management in here and you need to know which server you're loading or selecting.
No,
So
but
in
the
fact-
server's in a different place. Once again, this is not in a data center.
No, even if
This
it's
is
not
one
in a
is going
data
through
center.
London and one is going through Manchester.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, I completely agree. But even in a data center, that's what traffic engineering in here, you know. That's where you have an algorithm that knows there are 2 service points in here and one of them is overloaded. So you would never actually match with the first server.
So what you're saying
Why
is
would you?
what you're saying is exactly what I said at the end. Someone might make that decision and flip over to the other server without anyone else knowing about it. And I still learn looking at link 2 and say, okay, link 2 is really bad now and it's not even on path.
Yeah,
So
but-
I agree with you.
but
Absolutely. That's
yeah,
true.
That's a trust issue, you know. And if we trust in here that if we have such a poor trust in our algorithms that we are actually happy that the link went down because it directs us to the bad server, we have bigger issues in here, I'm afraid.
We have big issues. I agree.
Please, the blue sheets, remember them, fill them. Otherwise, we will be packed in a small room next time.
Kyle Rose, Sandmine.
But you know, it's so comfortable. Come on.
We have a lot of quality of experience having a lot of free. Yeah.
All right, so regarding the packet loss metrics, I think part of the problem there is we're just missing a bit of information in the equation. When you say that we're having problems with packets being added to the stream or removed from the stream, if you were to just take those into account in the quality metric, wouldn't the problem go away?
Once again, byte count doesn't work. Shannon information doesn't work. Give me the equation. Let's try it. Show me what I can do to actually know that the end user is getting the same data or better data. If you have an equation like that, fine. Let's try it.
All right, well, maybe we'll talk after.
Okay. Al, you have a minute.
Yes, thank you, Yakov, for your entertaining presentation. Al Morton. I think I can solve almost all of those problems. I'm not going to do that now. I think that the fundamental theme is measuring separate things separately. And that even comes down to your endpoint argument. You measure the network side, you measure the player buffer side, and you measure the rendering side.
Right.
And once you know all of those, then you know sort of the end-to-end thing.
Well, that's what I say here. However, no one knows an explicit equation right now to do that. I also feel that if you put more information in here, then maybe you can get to something. But all the work that people have been doing, including myself, over the years of how to make these explicit equations, none of that works. So it's opening up a new field.
I think there's definitely something new here, but please don't run around telling people that packet loss is meaningless and delay is meaningless. Come on, man.
No, it's not meaningless. It can be counterintuitive. In other words, high packet loss can be good for you.
Okay. Yeah, don't say that either. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thanks, and thanks to everyone, because we have made it just on time. This is, and well, let me remind you to fill the blue sheets, and if you, those of you who have them, please handle them to stage, sorry, so we can deliver it back. Thank you. I don't know where they are. Who has the blue sheets, please? I'm serious.
If it's useful, then